or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about books or series that I really want to reread by the end of 2024. We're already halfway through the year and there's two kind of lengthy series in this list, so wish me luck, but I should be able to do it, I think. Hopefully. So that's not the right attitude to have going into this. Okay, no, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be great and it's gonna be fun. So let's just get started. One of the books that I really want to reread this year is Meredith Alone, and this one I read at the end of 2022 and it became my favorite book of 2022, and it easily went into like my top 5 books of all time, if not like top 3, I would say. If we're not including fantasy, it would definitely be in the top 3. So Meredith Alone, we have our main character Meredith, and she's agoraphobic. She hasn't left the house in just over 1,000 days, I believe. Okay, yeah, so it starts off at day 1,214 of her not leaving the house. She has a remote job where she works from home. She has a rescue cat, Fred, I believe his name is, and she's just really struggling. She gets scared of people coming to her door and of course of leaving. She has her groceries delivered and her best friend comes to visit sometimes, but things are kind of turned on their head when she's forced to kind of deal with people wanting to like push her out of her comfort zone a little bit and to kind of deal with her issues, which she is like not happy with. So you don't know for a very long time like what caused her to become agoraphobic and what caused her to not want to leave the house and have this huge radical shift and change in her life. You do find out eventually. Definitely check trigger warnings before you go into this one. The cover is like pretty deceiving. It seems like it would be kind of like a chill whatever read, but it definitely delves into like darker subjects. I relate to Meredith a lot with so many of her issues and I would just highly recommend reading this, but like I said, check the trigger warnings. When I started reading this, I only got like a few pages in before I restarted to like tab it because I just loved this so much. I reached out to the author on Instagram and asked if she knew if there was any signed copies available like anywhere that I could buy, and then she ended up mailing me like a signed book plate, which I thought was just so kind of her. Like she didn't have to do that. She went out of her way to just send me the signed book plate out of like the goodness of her heart, and I just will always treasure this one. And then I do have the UK paperback, so when I do my reread, it's gonna be in this one and I'm gonna annotate this one as well. And then when I'm done, I'm gonna like go back and kind of compare annotations since it's been over a year and a half since I've read it, and I'd like to see kind of how the annotations have changed with how the story has resonated with me and how it's kind of stuck with me over time. So I'm very excited to be reading this one. The next one that I really want to reread is The Hurricane Wars, and this one came out in the fall of last year and the sequel's coming out in a few months, so I really want to reread this one before I get to the sequel. I remember when I read it the first time, I kind of just like raced through it because I found it so interesting and I was really liking the story, and I don't actually remember a whole lot just because I was going through it so quickly. There's definitely mixed reviews on this one, but it was just such a page turner for me personally, and I really just want to reread it and kind of catch up before the sequel comes out. I remember really liking the magic system in this one and just like the whole world building, so I'd like to kind of like touch base with the first book before I get into the sequel. In this one we have our two main characters, Taliesin and Prince Alaric, and in this world Prince Alaric's father, the Night Emperor, kind of just controls everything and not a whole lot of people like him. So Taliesin does have magic powers that she's kept secret, and Prince Alaric also has magic powers, but that's not like kept secret. And honestly, the back of the book does go into a lot more detail, but I don't really want to say more than that just because I don't think you need to know all that information going into a book. I find that like a lot of book synopses these days are going into way too much detail, especially thrillers, and I find it's just going to too much detail for me personally. I'm not a fan of like how detailed they all seem to be getting, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. It is enemies to lovers, and I believe the author did take inspiration from like the Raylo fanfic type of stories. The next two that I'm going to mention are the two series that I really want to reread. I'm very excited for these series. One of them I want you to promise that you're not going to judge me for. I found that there's kind of like a resurgence with rereading this series, and I was able to thrift all of the books for $10 in total. So there was 4 books that I got for $10. I was at a book swap and I was able to get one of the other books that was published like way later. So that's kind of a companion book to the first one, and that series is Twilight. So I have all the books here, including Midnight Sun, which is the first book told from Edward's point of view, which I've actually never read, so I am looking forward to reading that one. So again, just reiterating, it's a judgment-free zone. I have started rereading Twilight. I am annotating all of them, and I'm just over 200 pages into this one. I recently started rereading it like just last week, and I'm honestly having a great time. Objectively, these books are so bad. These books are not good. And when I was a teen and Twilight had just come out, like I read this book and immediately when I was done, I put it down and then I just flipped it over and started again from the very beginning, like less than a minute later. So I was obsessed. So this definitely has nostalgic factors for me, and I'm just having the best time, especially because I want to incorporate more like spooky. This isn't spooky, but it is like, you know, vampires and stuff like that. So I want to incorporate more like typical like fall Halloween-y kind of books year round into my reading rotation, because I find I don't have enough time in the fall to read all the ones I want to read like before Halloween comes and goes. So I'm just really excited about this. I'm really looking forward to it. My plan is to watch the movie and then read the corresponding book. I want to watch the movie first just because then I can tab it while having the movie fresh in my mind. A lot of my tabs are just like super cringe moments or like iconic lines, and also just like really weird lines from the book that weren't in the movies for good reason, because they're just so weird. So I just flipped it open, and one of the first tabs that I see, the underline is, "You don't look very tan. Well, my mother's part albino. He studied my face apprehensively and I sighed." And that is just like, I have no words for that. So I'm just having a great time and I'm fine with that. And I'm really looking forward to just like reading all of these and just having the best time. And the next series I want to reread is What Is Out of ACOTAR. So far, I'm really looking forward to this reread. I've only ever read the books once, like when I first read the series. I haven't done any rereads. I'm generally not a big rereader, so like this is already kind of strange and weird for me to be doing, but I'm really excited about all of them. So when I'm going through these, I'm going to be tabbing them and I'm just really looking forward to it. I am looking on Pinterest for different like annotation keys and annotation guides that I could maybe like take inspiration from and incorporate into my tabbing system. But the way I generally tab is I don't really follow like a color-coded key. So I don't know if I'll do that for these. I don't have a specific color tab for specific moments and like have them all color-coded like that. I just kind of put a tab and underline or highlight, do whatever, and then that's kind of it. So I might look into color coding this reread, but I'm not sure yet. But it also just seems like a ton of work and a lot more concentration than I don't know if I have. So those are the books I really want to reread in 2024. I'm really looking forward to it. The only book that I really want to reread before a specific date is The Hurricane Wars, because I want to reread it before the sequel comes out. I believe it's called Monsoon Rising. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.